Taking feedbacks is probably one of the most challenging things we'll face as a writer. After we put our heart and soul into the story that we wrote, we're getting feedbacks like, this story doesn't make sense, the character should do XYZ, maybe you should try to twist your plot this way. Sometimes some of the feedbacks might ring true to you, but there are other feedbacks might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. You want to protect your own vision, and you might wonder if the person who gave you the feedback didn't understand what you were trying to do with the story. Good feedbacks are valuable, but when should you take them into consideration, and when should you stay true to your heart? If you have this question, this video is for you. Before I start, if you are new here, hi, my name is Nani. I'm a writer-director based in Los Angeles, and if you are interested in checking out my feature film, it will be linked in the description down below. To be honest, in the very beginning of the screenwriting career, I had a lot of resentments towards feedbacks because I took them very personal. When people gave me harsh feedbacks, I used to get really offended because I felt I worked so hard on the project and my mind was thinking like, what do you know about? And if I'm getting a very good feedback, I also will question that person's honesty. Maybe they're just trying to be nice to me. But luckily, when I was studying in the screenwriting program, we have a group of writers writing our own project and present towards each other every week. And we kind of forced to give each other feedback every week. Throughout that process, as well as throughout making my own feature film that I have to receive a lot of feedbacks from business professionals, I started to develop a general guideline for myself on how to receive feedback. And since then, getting feedback has become one of the most exciting things for my writing process. So in today's video, I will share with you these guidelines that I use in order to identify a good feedback, knowing how to receive those good feedbacks, but also, most importantly, stay true to my own vision. Feedback type number 1, the feedbacks from professional writers. If the person who gave you the feedback knows the craft well, they know what they're doing, and then they know what they're talking about, I would really recommend, and I always remind myself to take it into consideration. Don't reject it right away, but that doesn't mean I have to apply the feedback into the story that I'm writing. That just means I have to develop some curiosity towards it. Sometimes, because the professional writers knows what they're doing, the feedback they give you might be very easy to take in because maybe they are pointing out something you already have some doubts about. For example, one of the best feedback I've ever taken is a feedback about the ending of my feature film. When I had my shooting script, we went ahead, filmed the ending, but even during the time of filming on set, I still didn't like that couple of scenes. I just didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't know how to fix it. And we shot the film, we edited the film, and then I showed the film to a screenwriting instructor of mine. He loved the film, but he also gave me a very direct feedback. He pointed out one of the scenes towards the end of the movie and asked me what's going on with that scene. That doesn't look like something you would write. It doesn't fit into the story. As soon as he gave me that feedback, I knew right away what he meant. But it's still very hard to take it in because the film already made, and it's going to be a lot of work to rewrite and gather everybody together to find the location to reshoot the scene. But that's what I did. I rewrote the scene, and I took some money out of my saving bank account and then gather everybody together to film that sequence. And then that's probably one of my favorite scenes currently in the film that I made. And a lot of people have also commented about how much they love that new filmed scene because it's pointing the theme and it's very subtle. So all the work went into it to take this feedback and apply it into the story are worth it. That being said, what is the process of taking feedbacks from the writing professionals? First, most importantly, do not take their feedback as a personal attack. Instead, listen to it, be curious towards it, and then really ask yourself why. Why do they feel this way? Am I feeling the same way? Or can I see why they feel this way? And if you have a very difficult time to understand why or fail to relate to it, it's the time to take the second step, which is seek out more professional writers to read the screenplay or to read the same sequence, and then to see if they have similar feeling or similar feedbacks for you. And if it is, ask them, why is that? Step number 3, play with the feedbacks. See the feedbacks as a possibility and then really play with it to trying to write some scenes based off the feedback to see if it works. At the end of the day, writing is just piecing puzzle together. It's like a game. So let's not take it too seriously. If you take the feedback into consideration and then write some stuff based off the feedback, it might give you a better picture of whether or not the feedback works. The worst case scenario is just you spend some time to try it out and you still don't like it and you just don't use it in your story. No big deal, and you also get a little bit of fun out of trying different things for your story anyway. Step number 4, if you still have doubts towards the feedback this professional writer gave you, you can ask yourself what kind of style this professional writer has, what kind of project, what kind of story style they generally like. For example, if you are a drama writer and you like very character-driven story, slow-paced story, and the feedback is coming from someone who writes a lot of horror story or high-paced plot-driven story, then maybe there's a reason their feedback doesn't really work for you. So really take that into consideration as well. Lastly, step number 5, if their feedback comes with a solution and you tried the solution, it doesn't really work for you, but some parts of the feedback actually rings true to you that you can relate to why they felt that way, then try your best to find your own solution with your own style, and in that way it kind of partially taking the feedback in and then mix it with your own thing. But if you tried all of those steps and you still don't quite get the feedback or don't feel that's very relatable, then you can confidently just stick to your own vision. Feedbacks type number 2, feedbacks from non-writers. The reality is you will get a lot of feedbacks, sometimes even technical feedbacks from people who isn't a writer. A lot of people think storytelling is very easy. It's not that technical, especially for people who hasn't tried to craft their own story. So be careful about taking feedbacks from people who isn't a writer, but that doesn't mean non-writers' feedback are not valuable. In fact, sometimes their feedbacks are very important because they didn't went in to read your story with the technical mind of being a writer. They were true audience of yours, and they will give you very authentic answers about how they feel about the story. So how do you take feedback from non-writers? Step number 1, only ask the people who you know who will be honest towards you. They don't worry about hurt your feelings. They will truly tell you how they felt about the story. The last thing we want is to have someone who praise about the story to make you feel good, but they actually felt there's some problem with it and they never tell you. It's never constructive that way. Step number 2, you don't need to take any technical feedbacks from non-writers, especially when you have doubts. If they are telling you what they think you should write, where the plot should go, or how the character should be like, things like that, you don't have to take those feedbacks. And a lot of time it's actually safer to stay with your own vision and not taking those feedbacks. Step number 3, you want to really pay attention and really listen to them when they telling you how your story make them feel as a reader, as an audience. Ask yourself why they felt that way, and ask more people to read your story and to see if this kind of feeling is a trend. And do you want to have those kind of reaction for your story? And if not, use your own writer's mind to really analyze it, to figure out what you can do to kind of change this kind of reaction towards your story. You can also present the problem that brought up by the audience to a professional writer to see what kind of solution they might suggest you to try, but ultimately the technical solution has to come from you. To give you an example, like what I mentioned in my vlog a couple of weeks ago, that I was rewriting the beginning of the screenplay that I'm working on for a while now, and I've actually already made a lot of progress for my earlier draft, but because I present my beginning to someone who isn't a writer, and then they did a comment about how they don't like the first page of the screenplay, and they told me they're not sure why. They just don't feel it's interesting, and I take not feeling interesting as a feedback, and I really sit with it and be curious about why they feel that way, and can I see myself feel that way. And honestly, I start to see where they're coming from, and I'm the one who actually went in there to rewrite the beginning to do different kind of experiment, as you see in the vlog, and then trying to find my own solution to it to make it more interesting. That's what I meant by taking their reaction and their feeling as a very important feedback, but find your own professional solution. Feedbacks type number 3, unsolicited feedbacks. In general, I will ignore feedbacks from people who I've never asked feedback from, unless they just happen falling into the trend of feedbacks that I've been getting. Then I'll deal with it accordingly based off it's the type 1 feedback or the type 2 feedback that I mentioned. To summarize how to receive feedback, take technical and structural advice from professional writers into consideration and then experiment with them. Be curious about non-writers' reaction to the story as an audience, but ignore their technical advices, and then just let go of unsolicited feedbacks. I hope this video can help you conquer your fear of presenting your work in front of readers and the audience, and then really put it out there to get some feedbacks. And if you can, remember to share your experience in the description down below. This can really help me build the community. And if you haven't already, remember to leave a thumbs up and then subscribe to the channel. And if you like this video, you might also enjoy this one right here. And thank you so much for watching. Be patient, be present, stay creative. I'll see you next one. Bye.